While villains often hog the limelight in horror, there is no denying we all love seeing a great protagonist we can root for or relate to. And it is even better if they somehow manage to survive the terrors they're put through to emerge bloody and battered as our reigning hero at the end. When faced with such dastardly threats as in a horror movie, however, it can be an uphill task for poor characters to make it out in one piece. It's not impossible, of course, it just takes a whole load of survival know-how and a firm nutting up, as Tallahassee would tell you, to navigate it to horror's final moments. And usually only the most bad of ass are the ones that will make it there. Here then, we celebrate those that took their survival most seriously, channeling their inner Ellen Ripley to make sure they absolutely make it out alive and survive their ordeals. Just not, dying like she did in Aliens 3. I am the badass Ash from WhatCulture Horror, and these are the 10 most badass horror movie survivors. 10. Erin, you're next. You're Next is a genuinely brilliant horror movie. As animal mass killers target a family at their remote, regal homestead, Shawnee Vincent's Erin soon finds herself in the middle of a fight for survival. With so many memorable visuals, a unique approach to the standard home invasion formula, and with a fun twist ending, You're Next jumped out from the pack upon release in 2013, and quickly became a fan favourite gem. Let's be real, that is because of Erin. From nervous houseguest to axe-wielding warrior, Erin is a character whose resourcefulness throughout the second half of the movie plays out like a bloody, brutal version of Home Alone's Kevin McAllister. Erin absolutely knows what's up, and stops at nothing to defend herself as everything from murderous tigers to hails of arrows try to best her. A ridiculously ready survivalist prepared to put her training to the test. 9. Seth Gecko, From Dusk Till Dawn. Up until Robert Rodriguez's From Dusk Till Dawn, George Clooney was best known as heartthrob Dr. Doug Ross in the medical drama ER. But with that 1996 movie, Clooney showed a completely different side of himself to audiences, a side that oozed cool charisma. Whereas certain survivors of horror movies go on to stick around for what becomes spun into a long-standing franchise, Clooney's Seth Gecko does more than enough to warrant an entry on this list purely based on his antics in just one film. Striking up a relationship with a failing man of the cloth, Jacob, and his 2 teen children, Seth ends up taking down a whole host of titty-twisting vampires that appear out of nowhere with them in spectacular fashion, including even having to take out his own brother Richie in the process. Only Clooney could make a man named Gecko this cool. 8. Heather Langenkamp, Wes Craven's New Nightmare. When Wes Craven unleashed Freddy Krueger on the world in 1984, not only did he give the horror genre a new classic boogeyman, but Craven also gave horror fans a new survivor to root for. After overcoming Krueger's dream-based attacks and torment, the end of that movie saw Heather Langenkamp's Nancy realise she can escape the grasp of Krueger by simply ignoring him and showing no fear. While Dream Warriors eventually killed off Nancy though, Langenkamp would manage to get the better of Freddy in Craven's brilliantly meta New Nightmare in 1994. That picture saw a version of Freddy Krueger turn up in the real world, inhabited by the actors and crew involved in making the Elm Street movies, which saw Langenkamp manage to go one better than Nancy Thompson. She finally defeated the evil entity by channeling her own pure badassery. 7. Reggie, the Phantasm franchise. Following the sad passing of Angus Scrimm in 2016, it seems highly unlikely that we'll ever get another Phantasm movie. But for as important to that franchise as the tall man is, so too is Reggie an integral part of the Phantasm series. What makes Reggie a particularly unique beast is that he's such an unlikely hero in every way possible. Phantasm creator Don Coscarelli wrote the character solely to give his friend Reggie Bannister something to do, which in itself makes it even more remarkable that this is a character who went on to battle the supernatural shenanigans of the tall man for 5 movies across a 37-year span. In terms of how Reggie is depicted in those movies, he goes from horned-up ice cream man to gun-toting horned-up ice cream man in that first 1979 Phantasm. The most unlikely of survivors, it is actually a major surprise to see Reggie emerge as the final hero of that original movie. And even more so to see how his awkwardly cool and suave persona continues to grow and grow in each subsequent picture. 6. Gracela Domas, Ready or Not. Soaked in blood, smoking a cigarette as police turn up on the scene, that is quite the way to stand out when it comes to being a badass survivor in the horror genre. And in last year's Ready or Not, that is exactly how things unravel for Samara Weaving's Gracela Domas. As a welcoming gift to becoming a member of the Domas family, Grace ends up involved in a twisted game of hide-and-seek, in which the family are on the hunt to brutally murder her as part of an ancient tradition. Despite the best attempts of her in-laws and husband, Weaving's warrior manages to survive this brutal battle of attrition, killing members of her new family up until she has survived long enough for the truth of their worrisome curse to come to light. It is there, drenched in Domas blood, that Ready or Not concludes with that aforementioned final shot, which ranks up there as one of the best in recent horror memory. 5. Charlie, 31. While Rob Zombie is likely best known for his 2 Halloween movies or his trilogy of Firefly family-based pictures, one that perhaps snuck under the radar is his 2016 release, 31. Based around a twisted game of cat and mouse, think a gore-soaked spin on The Running Man. 31 sees a group of 5 carnival workers thrust into a twisted, torturous compound where it's kill or be killed unless you can somehow survive the night and be granted your freedom. Sherry Moon Zombie's Charlie finds herself facing the grim reality of 31, managing to make it past crazed clowns, chainsaw-wielding rednecks, and holds off Doomhead just long enough for this Night of Carnage's timer to run out and earn her life. She is the only person to ever safely survive 31, and the film's closing shot is her and the brutal Doomhead having a sunrise-set standoff that hits home in a whole variety of fist-pumping ways. That ending, of course, delivers a sense of ambiguity by its very nature. Yet in terms of what the viewer sees, Charlie is at least alive to fight another day, even if that fight will take place minutes after the film concludes. 4. Mccready, The Thing. Take the ridiculously badass Kurt Russell, stick a marvellously badass beard on him, throw him in the beautifully badass snowy locale, hand him a badass and visually impressive flamethrower, and let a terrifying, parasitic, and also yes, pretty badass alien run amok, and there you have The Thing. By the time this sci-fi horror ride from the legendary John Carpenter comes to an end, there are technically 2 survivors. That would be Russell's Mccready and Keith David's Childs. So why does Mccready get the nod over Childs when it comes to inclusion on this list then? That is down to the fact that Carpenter, Russell and David have all discussed in interviews over the years how they presume Childs had been assimilated by the alien parasite. Then there's also the Dark Horse Comics follow-up to The Thing, in which it's revealed that, yes, Childs was the one compromised at the end of the 1982 movie, making Mccready the only true survivor. Adding further weight to this, 2002's The Thing video game sees Mccready swoop in on a helicopter to save the day during the game's closing moments. Basically, he definitely survives, Childs doesn't, and the canon solidifies his badassery even further. 3. Sidney Prescott, The Scream franchise. Not once, not twice, not thrice, no, it is 4 times that Sidney Prescott has had to battle some variation of the chilling Ghostface character. Like so many other ass-kicking horror survivors, Sidney starts off as a relatively meek and mild sort. Understandable really, considering she's confronted by the terrors of an expanding body count of her BFFs piled up around her, thanks to the targeting of Ghostface. Part of the charm of Sid, though, is how the audience has seen a transition from that emotional, scared figure of the first Scream to the more driven, resourceful survivor and warrior of Scream 2 onward. By the end of that second picture, Sidney is a battle-scarred badass who is all about turning the tables and taking the fight to her would-be attackers. And that's a character trait that's only accentuated through Scream 3 and Scream 4. Billy and Stu may have rattled Sid's cage in the 1996 original movie, but no one else stands a chance from that point on. 2. Ash, the Evil Dead franchise. Bruce Campbell's Ashley J. Williams is a horror institution, having amassed 3 main Evil Dead movies. Such is the popularity of Ash that fans consistently demand a return of this Deadite Slayer, which was sated only for a little while with the Ash vs Evil Dead series. Even now though, fans are hopeful that there's still more gore-laced antics and adventures to come from Ash, even if Campbell has suggested that he has now retired that role. As a character, Ash is never anything but badass, as I can attest to, but to take things to a whole other level, Evil Dead 2 saw Ash sever his own hand off and replace it with a goddamn chainsaw. By the time of Army of Darkness, audiences were presented with a ludicrously cool, wise-quipping, blood-soaked fella who was finally living up to his own ego and expectation. Few survivors in horror have ever been quite as fantastic as the Evil Dead franchise's Ash, and that is why there's forever hope that Bruce Campbell will reprise this most iconic of roles for further outings. Groovy. 1. Laurie Strode, the Halloween franchise. In John Carpenter's 1978 Halloween, young Laurie is thrown into a nightmare situation on Halloween night as Michael Myers returns to cause chaos and carnage in Haddonfield. You're likely well aware of that though, for anyone with even a passing interest in horror will have seen Carpenter's seminal piece of cinema. From a shrieking and screaming victim, the Halloween series sees Laurie become more empowered as it goes on. In that first film and Halloween 2, which followed on directly from the closing moments of Halloween, Strode is rightfully terrified at this Shatner-masked monster stalking her. But by the time Laurie returned to the franchise in Halloween H2O, this was a more calm, prepared person than in those earlier movies. Unfortunately for Laurie, her badass antics of H2O were ultimately for nothing, with her memorably killed off in the opening moments of Halloween Resurrection. Thankfully, David Gordon Green's 2018 Halloween erased all post-Halloween 2 canon in order to bring Laurie Strode back to the silver screen. And in that film, we saw a methodical, clinical Laurie who had spent decades waiting to face the shape once more. And that's our list. Which badass survivors also belong on this list? Share your thoughts in the comment section below. I've been Ash over on social media at Ash Millman, and this has been WhatCulture. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and come back again soon for some more spine-tingling horror content. Thanks for watching.